everyone. Good morning. I got 160th rank in the last exam, CSE exam. And I used to teach. I've been associated with Amrita for the last few months, almost a year now. So don't think about this as like anything formal, because I'm used to standing here and like talking to students. So since you guys have just started studying, right? I'm assuming this is, so you will be attending the 2024 prelims, right? Okay. So I'll tell you about myself, which I hope to inspire like at least a few of you, because I did not do this in a, I did not take a long time to crack this exam. So I came to Trivandrum only in January 2022, and I was expecting to give the prelims 2022. So I came in Jan 22, and the prelims was going to happen in June. So I studied for prelims from Jan to June, and I cleared prelims. And then I studied for mains from June to September, and I cleared mains. And then I studied for interview till March, and I cleared, and I got 160. So that is how it happened for me. So basically what I want to say, the first thing is that if you work efficiently and if you work in a smart way, if you understand the need of the exam properly and then work efficiently, strategize your time, then you will be able to do it like very quickly. Okay, it's not like there are no tips and tricks. I can't like tell you any tips and tricks, but the essence is that you need to understand what is required, and you have to work very efficiently and also very consistently for it. Then it's not very, very difficult. Okay, so that is my starting point. So I'll tell you how I went about it. So in Jan, I came to Trivandrum. And although I was enrolled in a class, like a coaching institute, I did not really like attend a lot of classes, because I knew that there were a few subjects which was difficult for me and a few subjects which were easy for me. Like I knew that when you start reading, you understand, right? Like you have a knack for some subjects, but like you don't understand a few other subjects. So I started like classes for the subjects for which I wanted some kind of a help, some kind of a direction. And the other subjects which I thought I was more efficient doing on my own, I did it on my own. So so that was my like first strategy. Like, I mean, I'm not asking you to bunk classes here, but like you have to be efficient, and you have to understand what are your strengths and weaknesses, and you'll understand when you start studying. Okay, and then you have to prioritize accordingly. So I did that, and then I was very consistent with tests, because I understood that if I'm just like studying content, then when I'm actually writing the test, I'm not able to link it up. So when I'm writing tests, then I can have a little more context to, and like a little more understanding of the subjects. So like when I started prelims preparation only, like if you're reading like, for example, Polity and like Lakshmikant, and you finish the first, like say 2-3 chapters, this is the first time you're reading the chapter. But still, if you go back, if you search for like this prelims Polity chapter 3 questions, and then you start solving the questions then and there, then you'll be able to understand what kind of questions can come from these chapters. So then when you're reading those chapters, then you'll be able to you'll be able to link it. Otherwise, you're just learning, right? You're just studying. So, but that is not the point. What we need, like, it's not just studying that we require, but we have to crack the question. So only if you keep looking at questions will you understand how to study and like what to think when you are studying. Because when you look at questions and then you come back to a certain chapter, then you sentence you'll be able to understand, okay, e sentence in the question, like you'll be able to understand that, okay, such a question could come from such a statement. So keep doing questions, keep writing questions, and do it from like now only. Don't think that, okay, I'll finish all my portion and then I will start doing questions. Don't think about it. Like, think about it as you're doing practice questions. Even if you're like downloading some test papers or if you get practice questions from here, keep working on it while you are studying. That is another thing. And then about current affairs, and like I'm sure for static and other subjects, you have your classes here. And then like I know that it may get a little difficult because if you're sitting full day with a class and then like you go back and you may not think that you have like enough time to do work on your own. But think about it this way, like you sitting in class and studying is also like your preparation, right? So if you think that like 6 hours you have, if you think that like 10 hours you have to study, but then like you're sitting for like 4 hours in class, and then don't try to do like 6 hours over and above this 4. This 4 hours is also like within your 6 hours, because a lot of students come to me and say that, you know, after this, like I try to learn more, but like classes take up a lot of our time and then like we can't do anything else. But when you're in class, be very present and, you know, listen properly, study, like learn everything properly. Like just don't like come and sit in class like absent-mindedly. So then that will also become like a very efficient time of your preparation. Okay. And then coming to current affairs for prelims, I think my strong point was current affairs, because I was generally somebody who used to read current affairs a lot, even otherwise. So current affairs was something that interested me too. So I put in a lot of effort in current affairs, and I think that also really helped. So for prelims, I used to read the paper for sure. Like I think that is non-negotiable. You can choose to read either Hindu or like Indian Express. I think these were the two that I used to resort to. I used to read Hindu paper because Express it's difficult reading the e-paper. But I used to look at Express Explained. That was a good source. Like Telegram, if you join the Telegram channel, you'll get a lot of like good information. So I joined Express Explained. I used to read the paper every day. I used to make notes from paper. I had prelims specific notes on paper, which I made on OneNote. It was divided into subjects. It was divided into themes and also divided by month, because later on when you start doing these test series, they'll ask you current affairs from months. So if you divide it by month also, then it's a little easy for revision. So I had prelims notes on OneNote divided by theme and by month. And I used to read the paper every day. I used to take down notes from the paper. And then I used to read these daily current affairs, like these capsule things from coaching institutes. You can pick any of them. So the objective of going through that is, if there's anything that you missed from the paper, you'll be able to cover it up there. So you look at that. And I used to look at that. And then from that also, I used to make notes. And then every day I used to work on practice questions. Like starting from the beginning of my prep, I used to do practice questions. You can find it on these different websites. It comes up everywhere. So pick a reliable one and then like work on 5 to 10 questions on a daily basis. You'll get it wrong. You will not know anything in the beginning. But you're learning, right? Like I think you will learn more if you go wrong. So if you get something right, then it's very difficult to retain it later on. But if you go wrong somewhere, you'll definitely remember it again. So it's okay if you go wrong, even if you don't know, but keep doing. And this was my consistent everyday current affairs prep for like a majority time of my preparation, especially during prelims. So this is what happened in prelims. I used to solve a lot of questions. I think by the end of prelims, towards the end of the prep phase, I think I would have done around 100 to 150, 120 question papers in total. So that really helped. But like, you guys don't have to do it right now, but keep in mind that unless and until you solve question papers and you practice questions, you will not be able to do it. So maybe now you are just starting your prep, right? But like, you can slowly accustom yourself to solving questions. And then later on, you can have you can do fully fledged question papers, time it, and that kind of that comes in later stage, but I'm just saying. So right now, start anyway, start studying in classes, attend classes, but work out questions. If you just Google questions from, even if it is geography, if you're studying a particular topic, if you just put the topic and like UPSC previous year questions or something, it will come up. So start solving these questions, start looking at how the questions are coming. And another, very, very important thing is looking at previous year questions. I don't know if you guys have already done that, but I think that's very important. Even if at the beginning of your prep, if you look at the previous year questions, only then will you know what kind of questions are going to come. And I think like in this year also, there's a change in the pattern of questions which have come. So you have to go through these questions and try to understand the UPSC's language and how they ask questions. There are certain things, if you analyze the questions enough, you will be able to come up with a lot of like tricks and strategies on your own, because then you will understand, okay, certain kind of words used, certain kind of statements used will most probably be wrong or most probably be right. So these are like analysis, like UPSC previous year question analysis, which will also come up later in your classes. But you have to do like some work on your own also. Like you cannot rely completely on another like person or institute or anything, right? Like you have to, like 90% of this is your work. There's only very limited that a coaching institute, they will try their best to give you everything, but there's very limited that somebody else can do for you. The rest of the work should come from you, right? So previous year questions, going through this is very important. For CSAT, I don't know how many of you are like really comfortable with CSAT, but for me, I'm not very comfortable with CSAT. But I wasn't too bad at it also. Like the English portion was pretty okay for me. Math was also okayish for me. So I started CSAT prep like 2 months before actual prelims. I used to do it every day. I used to solve all the previous year questions multiple times. I think generally prelims in the previous year questions, I've gone through it probably like 10 to 15 times, like over and over again, because otherwise you will not understand what UPSC is asking and what goes on behind like UPSC's mind. So also if you go through these previous year questions right now, right, like then when you are reading paper, when you're sitting in class and then like someone's telling you, someone's teaching you a concept, then you will understand, okay, this is something that was asked before. So you should probably pay attention in class when this is being taught, right? Because a lot of questions are like repeat questions. A lot of questions are come from the same topics. So it will help you prioritize your preparation. So if you haven't gone through previous year questions already, just go through it. Like you don't have to extensively go through it, but like you have to understand at least like 2-3 times, just read through it, go through the answer key, try to solve it if possible, and all of that. Do it if you haven't done it already. So that is for prelims. And then for mains and optional. So I had, so before moving to Trivandrum in January last year, I was working in Delhi. So during that time, I had little by little, I finished doing my optional. So my optional was sociology. So slowly I could finish it over many, many months. So that was something which I had already done before. So between prelims and mains, I largely focused on studying for GS, also writing answers for GS. So when you're preparing for mains, another thing that naturally comes to everybody is, okay, I'll do some work, like I'll finish some work and then I will start writing answers. But your content is never going to get over. Even for me, when I cleared prelims and I was going to write mains, I feel like I had like no content, because whatever answers I wrote, I would think that it was always insufficient. I would always score very less marks. Like in my test series, I was always the last. So I could never finish papers. I did not have content and I was very like kind of demotivated. But the trick is like you just keep at it. You keep doing it because you are learning from these tests, right? Like you get answer keys, you have test discussions. These are all very valuable things. You may think that, okay, after writing a test, you just like let it be, okay, your marks are very low, then fine, we'll learn in the next one. And then like you do something in the next one and then again your marks go low. But you have to understand your mistakes. You have to start bridging the gap. I think that is very don't stress out if your marks are low, if you're not scoring well, if you keep failing. But like the point is that you learn from those mistakes. You learn from the fact that, okay, you have scored well, you understand where did you go wrong. And then you look at answer keys, you look at test discussions. I rewrote all my answers. Like I used to keep writing my answers, like almost the same things, but I used to keep writing. So that, and then at the end of May, like towards the end of mains prep, and right, like the day before mains exams, no, like I used to just revise my booklets. I wouldn't revise my notes, but I would revise the answers that I wrote, because then in my head it's not like notes which are in my head, no, it's my answers which are in my head. So when I'm actually at the exam hall going to write the paper, and there is a very similar kind of question, it comes to my head, okay, what was like an ideal answer in my head, had this intro, had this body, had this conclusion, and I wrote everything. Trust me, for all my mains mock interviews, mock tests, and Manish knows this, I could not go beyond like 12 to 13 questions. I would just not finish the answers. But after doing this, after having like a proper structure in my head of how I rewrote my answers, I finished all my mains, actual mains answers for all papers. So this was like basically my strategy. Like you write, and then so for all the answer booklets that I had written, so I would watch all these test discussions, and I would go through these answer keys, and I would add all the extra points, and I would rewrite these answers. See, rewriting things is something that you have done. Like I think like a lot of you guys must have done in school. No, you make a rough note and then you make a fair note. So that's pretty much what I did. Like I had a rough answer, then I had a fair answer, and then eventually you go through the fair answer over and over again. And then when you actually go and write it, you will have like a fair answer in your mind, and then you write it. Even like one of the essays was like pretty much like that, because I had written in one of my mock tests, I had written an essay, and I had like improved the essay. I got like pretty good reviews for the essay, and almost the same topic came in the actual essay. And I pretty much wrote the same essay again, and I had really good marks in essay. So it kind of works. So the thing is, even if you're scoring low, but you write a test, even if you're scoring low, you bridge the gap, and then like you move forward. Do not leave a test behind. Do not, like, you have to go through every answer key. For the 120 tests that I wrote for prelims, I went through every answer key. I took the effort, 2 hours, sit and look at answer keys, make notes if required, highlight, do whatever, go like make a strategy, go through it. I went through the entire thing. At the end of, I think, prelims, I had like some 4 cartons of test series booklets with me. So it's time consuming, but like be very patient and like slowly go through it. You will improve. You have to trust this process. So that was for mains. And another very important thing, if you are going to write mains 2024, if you're like, you guys are going to attempt the exam in 24, right? If your writing skills are not, if you're not satisfied with your writing skills, start practicing writing, because you're going to write for an excruciating 27 hours. Like, you have to keep that in mind. Writing will not come naturally. I think that is something that I had an advantage. I was pretty good at writing, but I also, despite being good at writing, I practiced a lot. So because there are like, even if you look at like the papers in GS papers, you guys know what the GS papers are and the 9 papers, right? So which are the scoring subjects in GS? Like, essay is scoring. Okay, essay you can get, I had 130 for essay. Essay is one of the papers that you get like above 120 pretty easily. You can score it. And essay is something that you don't have to study. Okay, you're not studying for essay, unlike the GS papers. Then GS1, you'll get 100 above. Fair, like 100 to 110, you'll get GS2 also, you will get in the same thing. If you have to get above that, very rare. And it must be like extraordinarily good paper. It's okay. We just want like good marks. No, we don't want extraordinary marks. Then GS3, difficult to score. Okay, you will get like, I think I know one person who got above 100. Otherwise, it's all, even toppers get around 90-ish. Very difficult to score. I had 80. So but it's okay. For papers that we can't score, we can't do anything about it. So the average scores of GS3 is generally low. GS4, ethics, you can get easily above 120. Okay, I had 123. It's like you get more than that. I know people who've gotten like 144 for these essay and ethics papers. So think about the marks that, the difference in marks. It's huge, right? Like from some 100, think about getting 130, that's 30 marks. I'll tell you what the difference in this 30 marks, the importance of 30 the importance of like 1-2 marks, you'll understand when you're actually there. So these two papers, suppose like essay and ethics papers, right? If you put in, like if you develop your writing skills, then these two papers are sorted. Okay. And essay and ethics also is relatively easier to study compared to your GS2, 3, 1, 2, 3 papers, because there's so much content. You've gone through the syllabus, right? Like there's so much content in GS 1, 2, 3, but relatively it is easier to study GS4 and it will give you higher returns. But it will give you higher returns if you know how to write it properly, if you practice the answers, if you have if you sort of include a lot of examples, quotes, thinkers, and all of those things. So these are two very high yielding papers, but it will not come to you if you just start, if you think that, okay, essay is simple, 2 essays, you'll be able to write something. 2 essays, 12 pages you have to write. So it's not easy, but it is highly scoring. So the reason why I'm telling you this is start writing, because only if you start practicing writing from now will you be able to write properly in 2024. Like I said before, writing will not come easy. Writing has to be practiced. Okay. So do that. Slowly start writing essays. When your ethics class starts, start writing ethics answers. Try to develop ethics answers. And similarly, GS1 and 2. The next high yielding is GS1 and 2, right? Like 3, I'm not saying don't study GS3. If GS3 goes down too much, then you will not pass. So GS3, you have to do like good work. But this is the kind of strategizing that I was talking about. Like you have to understand which are the high yielding ones and then like put in more effort for that. Similarly, optionals. Like for me, my optional was socio. What are your optional? Anybody with socio? No? One? Few. Then geography? Nobody. Then what are the other optionals that you have? What is a Malayalam optional? No? Anybody who hasn't decided what optional to take? No? So what are your optionals? Okay. Okay. So there are people who are deciding what optional to take. Okay. 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 Figure out what optionals. Oh, yeah. Then this is okay. So then maybe this is too soon to talk about optionals. But generally, what people say is, so right now I can talk about like what should you consider when you take an optional. Okay. Definitely like your interest for something, because you cannot study something that you don't have an interest towards, right? So you attend the orientations, think about what interests you. Optional is something that you will have to study for a long time. You'll have to keep studying. It's just like BA. So like you will have to spend a lot of time doing optional. So it obviously has to be something that interests you. But another thing that I would like to say is, which I think a lot of them don't say, but if you have a strong point, okay, like if you are good at a subject, generally, go for it. Like, because that kind of an advantage, like in writing or like in that subject will help you. Because you're competing with other people, right? Like, so your answers will definitely be evaluated on the basis of something, or on the basis of how other people have written. So if you have an advantage, if you are good at certain subject, then it will give you an advantage in optional also. Like, but don't be like, if you've learned something and you are good at something, but you hate that subject, then don't take it. But if you have an advantage in some subject, if you think that you will be able to stand out from the rest of the people, then I think it's worth taking it, because even for socio, like my BA was in economics, but socio I did in PG, but my PG was in social work. But so I did not study sociology proper, but I had like some kind of a background, like, and I knew that I could write socio well. So all of these factors considered, and then I took socio. So if similarly, if there is something that you think you are good at, that you will be able to make your answer stand out, then, go through the syllabus. If you think it's worth doing it, then go for it. Because I think what really matters in your answers generally is how you can make your answers kind of stand out and make it unique. So if you have a competitive advantage in any subject, go through the syllabus. If you think that is possible, then you could take it up. Otherwise, definitely it's the interest, it's the peer group and all of those things. But also, if it is something that really interests you without a peer group, go for it. I know people who have taken literature. Arya had literature, she did really well. So those kind of, but literature is like a subject where you may not get that kind of a peer group, resources are kind of limited. You may find it difficult to get your answers checked and things like that. But still, there are people who do really well taking these other things like commerce. And I'm sure there will be any commerce graduates here, BCom people. So many people taking commerce and accountancy and all as optional. I think one of the toppers this year, top 10 or something, she took commerce. So, I mean, that's the, I'm sure she had an advantage, right? Like she had an advantage of taking these subjects. She had already done it in her graduation. So that gave her an edge. She wrote really well and scored really well. And also, you could also probably look at which are the subjects which are more scoring in some way, because like for socio, anthro, these are, I think, PSIR also, you get more marks generally. There are few subjects which may not give you, like if you look at the highest score, then that will be not as good as the other subjects. For example, law doesn't give a lot of marks, apparently. Like I think the highest this year is some 286 or something for law, similar with economics. So these are few subjects that it's kind of difficult to breach the topper like marks. The top marks will be around this thing, whereas for all of these socio and anthro and all, it goes above 300. But still, there are toppers. I just met 2-3 toppers like day before yesterday, who were in the top 20s, had economics. They had 270 something, which is, but top 20, I had 291 in socio, but still. So that's what, like, if you're comfortable, if you have an edge in some subjects, go for it. Attend the orientations, consider all of these factors, consider the fact that it will be something that you will have to learn for an extended period of time, and go for it. But at the same time, you have to start writing. Mains is something that I think a lot of people do not understand the monster that mains is. Only when you actually go and sit and write, you will understand how difficult it is to write mains. So don't take it very lightly. Everybody thinks that, okay, we'll, once prelims is sorted, then, but that's not the case. Mains is very difficult, and it's also very difficult if you're not very fluent with writing. So you have to start practicing writing, start writing essays, start doing some kind of creative writing. It will also help you in these optionals. Like if you're going to take socio as an optional, writing is very important in socio, because you need to write in a certain way. And it's the same thing for PSIR, it's the same thing for anthro. There's a certain way of writing. And if you master this way of writing, think about the subjects that you are already comfortable with. Essay is sorted, you can get 130. Ethics is sorted, you can get 125. Two optional subjects, you can go above 140. You'll already clear. Then even if like GS is in 90s, it's fine. You'll already clear. So these are the subjects that will give you very, very high returns after studying. Like put in little effort, it will get you through. Because if you're not scoring so much in like ethics or essay, where other people are scoring like 120 plus for both these subjects, if you're not scoring, then it will place you at a disadvantage, right? So look at these subjects which are like very high scoring, and start slowly working for it. You have a lot of time now. Like next year is like you have what, 1.5 years to study, So these kind of skills start developing. So this is about prelims and mains. Interview, I'm not talking about it right now. It's a long time later. So if you have any questions about anything, ask me. Just like a faculty, it's like informally also you can like meet me. Otherwise, if you have anything to ask. So I did not have this every Sunday weekend I would revise. I was not that kind of a revision person. My revision strategy was usually like, so if this week I'm doing polity, then next week I'm doing history. So that one cycle, suppose like in a month, right? So this week is polity, then it's history, then it's geography, then it's say economics or science and tech and environment, whatever. And then the next month starts, right? Then I used to revise. So that's how my revision was. I was not somebody who used to revise like every week, but it depends from person to person. I know a lot of people who used to revise at the end of the week. My strategy was different. I was not somebody who used to do that. But I think I was somebody, I was a quick learner. So I could finish faster. So I could do multiple rounds of these revisions. So, but if you are somebody who takes a little time to finish these things, suppose instead of 1 week, suppose you take like 2-3 weeks to finish polity, then I think it's better to have more periodic revisions. So it depends on what kind of a learner you are, basically. And yeah, for current affairs revision, I used to make these notes, and then I think it was when, like, after say 2 months, I started in Jan, no? So from Jan, Feb, March, from March, I started revising these things. So I used to keep revising, and then I had a plan for it. I said, no, I had it thematically divided. So suppose I'm writing like a science and tech test. Then science and tech, I had like some other like notes made, some class notes and everything. And then I used to revise the current affairs science and tech section also. So that's how I used to revise. If there's an environment test, I used to revise the environment section of my current affairs. History test, even history also has current affairs. History is not just static. I had a section for history because a lot of things, places come on news, artifacts come on news, these, people visiting, eminent persons visiting. Now, like there's so many of G20 visits happening. They're going to different places, historic places. So those are very important. So that comes in the current affairs in history. So I revise those things. Art and culture has so much of current affairs in it. So these kind of things I used to revise whenever I'm writing the tests. So that's how my revision was mostly. It was like prior to tests, I used to revise and go. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. I have no idea. I don't think I can comment on it because I don't know anybody also who's taken PubAd. Okay, then you can ask him. I'm sure he will guide you properly because I don't have any friends also whom I know. I'm not sure about PubAd, if it is scoring or not. I don't know anybody also who has taken. I haven't met anybody. In my small circle, I don't know anybody. But I'm sure Matthew sir will be able to tell you more about it. Yeah. But PubAd, I think, helps in GS2. That is also another thing. Like if there are certain optionals which will help you in GS also. Like socio will help in GS1 because it has a section on Indian society, so a lot of questions. Even last year in this mains also, pretty much I think GS1 was divided between geography and sociology. So it will help. Then I think PubAd will help in GS2. Polity also, if you're taking PSIR also, to a certain extent will help in GS2. Then history obviously will help in GS1. So it has these taking optionals also have such advantage. But that's okay. Like even if you want to take Malayalam literature, it's fine. There are so many people who study both. It's not like a big advantage or anything, but definitely I know that PubAd helps in GS2. That is the only thing I know about PubAd. Yeah. But you can ask Matthew sir. Yeah, anything else? Questions? No? Okay. Cool.
Very clear. She is not here to reveal any tips and tricks. But if you have closely listened to her, she revealed her tricks to you. One thing I want to say is that my team is very big. Test series, she said 4 cases of test series. They never get into the aspirants mind, which I have seen. They only after the first attempt they start.
Yeah.
You have an advantage. You have been exposed by our team. They have already started answering. You'll be surprised. So that's the way. This is the winner who's. So have the confidence. Follow that procedure. The time you are going to spend is part of your studies. Don't think that the 4 hours is just for something else. Is very much an essential part. Why people say they don't have time because they consider this as not a.
Yeah, I used to watch these YouTube videos.
Certainly brought that point.
Yeah. Even like I used to watch these YouTube videos, right? Like of even if it is previous year question solving, or when it comes to like your mock interviews, then you just keep watching YouTube videos because then you're not reading, you're listening to people. So if you're watching a YouTube video for 30 minutes, I used to add it. That was a part of my studying time only. I'm not like watching random YouTube videos. No, it's going into my head. It's helping me somewhere. So everything that you do, all of it's these small things that actually make a difference. It's not just sitting and like studying, but it's these kind of efforts like writing. I was just like recently, just 2 days back, one of my friends who did not manage, he attended the interview this year, but he could not clear, he didn't make it to the list and his essay marks were very low. So he was asking me how to improve the essay. And I was just telling him that one of the ways to start writing, like generally even my roommate is asking me, how do you start writing? And then I said, there was some bottle sitting like in front of the table. And I said, like just start like write 4 pages about this bottle. Okay, like first 2 pages probably you will start writing about the description. You start describing, right? Like you will write, okay, there is a bottle, glass, it has 3/4 water, it has a cap, it has this, that. But what will you write after 2 pages? But you have to write 5 pages. Then you will start thinking, okay, what can I write about this bottle? Then you will start thinking about, okay, so you start thinking a little creatively. Like you draw from some examples, you will draw from life, you will talk about some example, maybe like you were traveling somewhere and you did not have water and you were really thirsty, and then then that time I realized that okay, this is the important water, something like that. And that's how you start writing creatively. Take a very normal thing, take a handbag, take a mic, something, start writing 5 pages. I know like it will sound bizarre to you right now, but trust me, when you write 12 pages on a philosophical essay, this will help you. Otherwise, you cannot write. Like it's just not possible. Question where you have to write 12 pages on a smile. How can you write 12 pages on a smile if you don't think in a certain way? Right? So that's where it will help you. I know people who have scored 144 in essay. But think about the mark. That's what I'm telling. Like for somebody who scored 100, and it's not possible to score 144 in anything other than an optional. But in essay you can. That's where the difference in marks come up, right? And 30 is like not a make or break mark. It's something that can get you to like top 10 rank. Something that you can get you to the top AIR 1. So that's the difference in marks, and that's what writing can get to you. Like I think writing is like severely underemphasized in any of the preparation strategies. People just don't talk about it, but I think it is so important, very important. Like start writing for essays, start writing for ethics, for GS, everything. Start writing and like keep at it. Don't stop writing ever. Even if it is like small things, like even if you're writing a journal every day, write about what you did today. Just write a page about it. It will help in writing, and it will help you in all the papers. It does not necessarily need to have content, but if you are smooth in writing, then your GS answers will eventually flow. Like it will come to you. If you have content, it will come to you. So keep do answer writing, take it very seriously. That time is also, if you're spending half an hour in writing, that is your study time only. You're not like wasting time. After your answer writing, if you're discussing with somebody, if you're watching a test discussion, if you have like a mentorship, meeting here for 20 minutes, half an hour, that is also your studying. That's also something that you're learning. So don't think too much about this. Sitting and studying is the this is the last thing. It's the last thing that will like actually help you, and the things that will actually help you are these kind of things that adds on to your learning. So don't take it, even mentorship and all, like attend the mentorship calls, ask questions to people, like ask questions to your mentors, be very proactive. If you need support, reach out to them. Don't think that like mentors are going to judge you or anything like that. They're here to help you. So reach out to your mentors, talk to them. They will understand where your weaknesses are. They will help you through it. They will tell you, a lot of different techniques and everything. So very actively engage with your mentors and the faculty and all, and get the best out of them, because they come with a lot of expertise, and that's very important. Otherwise, without them, you will not be able to do things on your own. Like I had a mentor when I was preparing, and I think if not for that person, I wouldn't be standing here. I had mentors, actually 2-3 people helped me so much. I wouldn't be standing here if not for them. So don't take your mentors and faculty very lightly, or your classes very lightly. They're very, very important. Okay. Yeah. That's it, sir. Anything else, if you guys want to ask, you can ask. Yeah. It's okay. I was always critical of myself when I was writing, but you have to get out of that comfort zone. Okay. Because otherwise you will not improve. Yeah. You will always feel that way. You'll always feel that way. Even if you ask like the best writers, like the authors and people who write books and all, even they will be critical about their writing. This is something that we will never be satisfied. But it's okay. What we can do is only like do what we can to the best of our ability, like keep writing, keep getting evaluated. I used to evaluate all my answers. Like none of my answers went unevaluated. I used to and like in the place where I did my tests, I had like multiple evaluations, multiple people used to review my work. So it's very, very difficult to go and sit in front of a person and you have really low marks in a paper. Okay, it's very embarrassing to go and sit in front of that person, but you have to do it. Like I think about it, like the admin in the place where I did my test. So I used to not turn up for these evaluations. I would feel very embarrassed because I know that I had really low marks. I was always, if there were 15 people writing the test, I was always a 14th. So I was very embarrassed to go and sit there. And then this admin, she used to keep calling me. She used to be like, Meera, no, you have to come. You have to come. We've already scheduled it. Now you can't miss it. So she used to like do a lot of emotional blackmail. And then I used to turn up. I used to sit there very extremely humiliated in front of that person who was correcting my paper. And then, but like I used to take it, I used to go back and, like I said, I used to go through the answer key. I used to look at what comments they have given. I used to review the test discussions. And from those points, from whatever, even when you're sitting for evaluation, they will give you points, right? Like they'll tell you, okay, these are the things that you missed out. These are the things that you can add. They'll tell you all of these things. This is not probably the way to write. You have to structure it a little differently. So all of those things, you have to understand that it's coming from somebody, a third party who has no relation to you, but who has read your paper. And it's going to be a similar person who's going to be sitting and evaluating the actual paper, right? You're not going to actually see that person in person. So that time it's going to be a little easy, but to reach there, you have to slowly get out of your comfort zone here. You have to turn up for evaluations. You have to turn up for this paper feedback and everything. And they will tell you all the points that they give you. even if it is your discussions and everything, keep adding it to your notes, keep adding it to your answer. You have to understand, if you're scoring like 1 out of 10 in a particular answer, you have to, it's not, your thought process should not be, "Ayo, I did not like, this is so bad, this is so embarrassing." But your way you should think about it, okay, I scored low, but doesn't matter. How can I improve this? How do I get to a point where I can score 3 or 4 in this paper? So in this answer. So that's how you should look at everything. Like, this is going to be like, it's going to demotivate you many times, but you have to learn from it. Like, if you don't learn from it, then you will not get to it. Like, I know people, I know toppers who had like in the first prelims test series and all, they scored negative, and then still, but if you score negative and then like you get very demotivated, then what's the point? Like, the point is, if you're learning, you learn from your mistakes. Like, you, like I said, no, number prelims in the test series if you get a question wrong, then you will forever remember it. Like, trust me. So actually going wrong in prelims test series is actually a good thing. Like, not scoring too high is actually a good thing, because only then will you go through the answer keys properly. The things that you've gone wrong, you'll go through it properly. If you've got an answer right, then you'll think, I got this right, and then you'll skip it. And then the same thing will come in some other context, in some other test, or in the actual UPSC prelims, and then you'll be like, I've already gone through this. I wrote this paper, but like this came in some test, but I don't remember it. And you may not remember it because you may have gotten it right at that time, and you just skip the answer key. Okay, so this is how it works. This is, you always learn when you go wrong, when you make mistakes. So making mistakes is not, it's not a bad thing. Okay. And obviously you have to, like, you are a beginner, right? Like, so when you begin things, it will be difficult, it will be hard, and you will not score well in tests, but you will improve, you will eventually. You have to go with that mindset. So attend all of these evaluations and everything. Give it for review. Whatever answer you're writing, even if it's in your notebook, show it in class. Get somebody to read it, because somebody should read it. Okay. So first you structure your essay, right? And then a word limit. See, in even if it is like a UPSC booklet, no, you'll have only designated spaces. Like, you have 12 pages, after which the next question will start. So you cannot go beyond something. So if you're like, what do you call it? Like, if you're going beyond the word limit, then you have to like kind of space it out a little bit. Do suppose like, if your writing is like too small, and then like it's very like packed up, it's not like what do you call it, it's not like spaced out, then you practice spacing out a little bit, because if you space it out, then obviously you will not cross the word limit. No, because maybe you're crossing the word limit because you're writing in like notebooks or just A4 sheets, when you don't have designated pages. But when you're actually writing the test, and even if you write any test series, you will have only 12 pages to write. After that, you can't go beyond to the next page. So what you need to keep in mind is that you have to structure it. So first, like, we use 1.5 hours to write an essay, right? So the first 15 minutes goes in structuring the essay. So take the last page, and then you you brainstorm points, you write intro. What are you going to write in the intro? This will be half a page. What are you going to write in the next paragraph? This will be a quarter page. So you strategize like that. That comes in the structuring part that happens in the first 15 minutes. And then you start writing. So then okay, when you're writing intro, it's going to be 1 page. And like roughly 1 page may like how many words come. So you can calculate all of that, and then slowly structure this. Or worst case scenario, like, you can write those, you can take those, what do you call it? I'm sure you get some kind of notebook, so you can print out sheets with words, like the number of words that you can write in one particular page. Take printouts and practice on that. So then you will stick to the word limit. So you can develop these kind of things. So practice like that will be fine. And also, if you go beyond the word limit, or like less, like right now at this stage, it's fine. The only point is you have to start writing. Like, you have to write, you have to keep writing. And essays and all, it's a little tricky. Like, you can fine tune essays later on. That can happen later on, but you need to be comfortable in being able to write for like long time, like for 3 hours long. If it is for your optional papers, you'll have 4 pages to write. So you need to be able to, for the 20-mark questions, you will need to write 4 pages for an answer, so these are things that you will have to keep practicing. Fine tuning, it can come later, but you need to be comfortable in writing first. Okay, then I think we can wind up.
Amrita IAS Academy.